welcome back to history. We're going to quickly review our continents and oceans, and then we're going to review our regions. There are 5 of them, super simple, and I've got something else to show you. And then we're going to learn some more landforms, because we talked about a couple of landforms yesterday. We're going to learn some more today. So we're going to quickly go through our continents and oceans. Ready? North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica. Again, North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica. What's this? North America, Asia, good. South America, good. Europe, Antarctica, Australia, good. Africa, Australia, Asia, North America, Europe, Africa, Antarctica. Good. So know those continents. Then our oceans. Pacific Ocean, remember, on both sides. Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, Southern Ocean. So know your oceans. Arctic, Atlantic, Pacific on either side, Indian, and Southern Oceans. Good. And then, super simple, our 5 regions. Oh my goodness, too easy, right? Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West. Northeast, Northwest, Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, Southwest, West. What is this? Midwest, Southeast, West, Southwest, Midwest, this is still Midwest, Northeast, West, Northeast, Southeast, Northeast. I love Northeast, sorry, I just had to keep doing that one. All right, so those are our regions that we are going to be learning. Now, I've got this. I was able to get it up so that we can see it. I love this thing so much. Thank you to the Figueroas for providing this for us. So we also have been talking about our hemispheres, because remember, this middle place right here, all around the middle, is called our what? The equator, right? Our equator. And so above the equator, what is this whole part called? Do you remember? All of this up here, all the top, is called the northern hemisphere, remember? And down here is the southern hemisphere. So above the equator is the northern hemisphere, below the equator is the southern hemisphere. And just like I was telling you guys yesterday, where we said, oh, don't forget the Pacific Ocean on this side, Miss Monroe, and the Pacific Ocean on this side, Miss Monroe. This is the United States right here, but here is where it connects, because here's China, India, Japan, and the Spice Islands. All of those are here. So Pacific Ocean is this whole big area right here. Then we have our Atlantic Ocean, which is smaller, and then we have our Indian Ocean, which is right here under India. The Southern Ocean is way down here with Antarctica. And then we have our Arctic Ocean on the very top. Okay, so that Arctic Ocean is right there. So knowing our parts is going to really help us to understand Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, when we're talking about certain things, knowing where they are located. So we've got this beautiful globe that helps us to recognize all of that information. All right, so I'm going to move this and move you so that you can focus on me and not our beautiful globe. And we're going to find out what else happens to John Smith, because remember we said today he gets hurt and we don't know what happened. But before we do that, we're going to do a stop and think at the top of page 26. Page 26. Today we think of a gentleman as a man who is polite and thoughtful to others. Now, you know, in the classroom, what do I call you, gentlemen? I call you gentlemen. I say, oh, gentlemen, line up at the door. Ladies, line up at the door. So when we think of gentlemen, the reason I call you gentlemen, is because I want you to be polite and respectful young men. So today we think of a gentleman as somebody who is polite and thoughtful of others. A true gentleman is not ashamed to do his share of the work that needs to be done. Not like the gentleman back in Jamestown, where they were rich and they didn't want to do the work, where John Smith had to make rules, right? And what was his rule? I love this rule. You don't work, you don't eat. He who will not work shall not eat. And he made that rule not to be cruel and mean, but because everybody needed to work together if Jamestown was going to survive. It was not going to be successful if these men did not learn to work together. And thankfully, because of John Smith, trading for food with the Indians when they ran out of food, keeping peace with the Indians when they could have easily killed all of those men, those people that were in Jamestown, because of those things that John Smith did, and because of finally getting the men to start planting gardens and fortifying, getting that fort to be stronger. That triangle was already strong, but he's making it even stronger. All of the things, the effort that he put into helping Jamestown is what made it be a successful English settlement. The first successful English settlement in the New World was Jamestown. We said eventually women and children came to Jamestown to live there and to be a part of it. So those true gentlemen are ready to work, but those gentlemen weren't quite the gentlemen like we think of today. We can certainly see that the men of Jamestown who would not work were only thinking of themselves. They weren't thinking of others. When there is work to do at your house, do you expect others to do your part? Or do you say, oh, no, this is my job, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability? Or do you wait for mom or dad or brother or sister to do it for you? Don't wait for somebody to do the things that you can do, that you are supposed to be doing. Make sure you are putting in the effort to do hard work, because that's being thoughtful of others. Your parents already have other jobs to do around the house and outside of the house. Your brothers and sisters and things, they have their own jobs to do. So everybody has to do their part in a household, in a community, in a school setting. We have to do our part to work to get the jobs done. Miss Monroe can't do it all. I need help sometimes taking care of the classroom and cleaning and keeping things neat. If we all just didn't bother to do our part, and you didn't bother to keep your desks neat, and I had to try to clean all the desks and clean the room and make sure it looks nice and clean my own desk, it would be very difficult. So we all have to work together. Okay, so now we're going to find out what happens to John Smith. John Smith is hurt. John Smith always carried a bag of gunpowder with him, because you always had to be ready to fire the gun whenever it was necessary. Well, one night as he slept, that bag exploded. So maybe an ember, a little piece of the fire that, sometimes they might have burning at night so they could stay warm. Maybe a piece of that hit the gunpowder, and it explodes, and he was badly hurt. There were no doctors. Remember, this is the New World. There was nothing there. There were Native Americans that were there, but there were no doctors. There were no hospitals. There was nothing there in the New World. The colonists put him on a ship to England. They had no one to care for him there, so they had to send him back to England. At least maybe he could get to a hospital and have some doctors look at him or something. They hoped the doctors there could make him well. So they had to send John Smith away. Who's the one that's been helping Jamestown to survive? John Smith. At first they didn't like him. Then they saw how hardworking he was, and now they loved him. They even made him president of Jamestown. Now he's badly hurt and has to go back to England. What's going to happen to Jamestown, guys? Let's read. Do you see the title of the next part? What does it say? Starving time. Is starving a good thing? No, it's not. That means you're going hungry. So starving time, what is that talking about? Meanwhile, Jamestown faced another winter without food. Where would they get enough food to feed over 200 colonists? They had John Smith that helped to trade with the Indians when they had just 100 colonists. Now there's over 200. John Smith is gone. How are they going to provide enough food for all these people? The colonists asked the Indians to help them, but the Indians said no. Powhatan ordered all tribes not to trade with the people of Jamestown. And remember, Powhatan was the chief of chiefs. He was kind of like the king, of England, but he was the chief of all the different Indian tribes. And so when they said, oh, can we please, give them a little bit of food? He said, no, we are not giving them any food any longer. John Smith is no longer here. We're not helping them. That winter, so many of the colonists starved to death that they called that terrible winter of 1609 to 1610 the starving time. So starving time was that terrible winter of 1609 to 1610. And there were many colonists that died during that starving time. So what was starving time? The winter of 1609 to 1610, when many colonists died. 1609 to 1610 was called the what? Starving time. The starving time, okay? Because on a quiz or a test, sometimes they like to try to trick you by giving you other words and other sayings. Don't get tricked. It was called starving time. Look at the next page. Captain Smith gets well. Oh my goodness, maybe Jamestown is going to be okay after all. Maybe he'll go back and he'll start trading with the Indians again and everything's going to be great. Let's read and find out. John Smith did get well in England. In 1613, he returned to the New World. But does your book say the same thing that mine does? But not to Jamestown? What? He went back to the New World, but he didn't go to... Where did he go? Let's read. I gotta find out. Let's find out. Instead, he explored New England. Third grade. Where's New England? Who's in New England? We are! We're New England. He came up here to a New England, and he toured here. We may have walked the same steps that he walked. Here in Connecticut and in Massachusetts, if we visited places in New England, we may have walked the same exact places that John Smith walked. How cool would that be, right? So he had explored New England and he made an excellent map of it. The Pilgrims, do we know Pilgrims? Yes. They would later use his map of New England when they would come to Massachusetts in 1620. Pilgrims coming to Plymouth, Massachusetts. By the time the Pilgrims landed in Massachusetts, there were about 1,000 colonists living in Virginia. So we know that 1609 to 1610 was that awful starving time and lots of colonists died. So those over 200 became less than 200. But 10 years later in 1620, when the Pilgrims came, there were over 1,000 people living in Jamestown. But as far as we know, Captain Smith never went back to Jamestown. They learned how to survive on their own after he helped them. Jamestown was the first permanent English settlement in the New World, yet it might have failed without the courage and strength of John Smith. This little guy, remember we said he wasn't very big, he wasn't very tall, but when has that ever made a difference? Does size or height or any of that matter? It does not, because anybody can do powerful things if they put their mind to it. And if it hadn't been for somebody like John Smith, We may not be reading about Jamestown today, or we would read about it, but we would say, Jamestown was a great colony, and then everybody died. So sad, the end. But we don't read that about Jamestown because John Smith helped Jamestown to be that first permanent English settlement that was very successful. All right, page 28, let's do our comprehension check together, and then we're done. Give the correct answer. Who was the chief leader of many Indian tribes surrounding Jamestown? Who was the chief of chiefs we just talked about? Very good, Sammy, I heard you. Powhatan, yes. So Powhatan was the chief of chiefs. He was that chief leader. Who made this rule? He who will not work shall not eat. You all got that. That was easy, right? John Smith said that. List 2 ways Captain Smith helped the colonists of Jamestown. What were the 2 ways that he helped the colonists? Traded with the Indians for food. Very good. What else? He kept peace with those Indians. Very good. What else did he do? He taught them that they needed to plant gardens, right? So there were so many different things that he did. So if you're looking, you can go to page 24, you can go to page 25, and you can look and see. He helped to make the fort stronger, remember? So there were many different things that he did that helped the people of Jamestown, but you only have to write 2 of them. What was the terrible winter of 1609 to 1610 called? It was called the starving time, right? Starving time. What was the name of the first permanent English settlement in the New World? Everyone, Jamestown, yes. And who was Jamestown named in honor of? King James the First. Very good. That's not on here, but I just wanted to ask and see if you could remember. Good. All right, number 6. Captain Blank was in command of the English ships that sailed to Jamestown. Sorry, I kind of almost gave the answer. Is it Newport, Powhatan, or Smith? Which captain was in command of the English ships? Good, you guys are smart. They tried to trick you and put Captain Smith in there, but remember, Captain Smith wasn't in charge. He was the one that actually got in trouble and was put below the deck. So Captain Newport was in charge of those 3 ships. Number 7, according to legend, remember legend, Blank saved the life of Captain Smith. I know all my girls know this. Pocahontas. Very good. Yes, Pocahontas. I know my boys know it too, but I just know my girls are so excited because you already saw the next picture, didn't you, girls? Yes, well, you're going to have to hold on. We are not getting to her yet, so hold on. Don't read ahead either. Not fair if you do. Then number 8, when John Smith returned from England after his accident, he explored and made a map of, let me try that again. When John Smith returned from England after his accident, he explored and made a map of where? Virginia, Florida, New England. Letter B, New England. Very good. So those are some of the things that we know about John Smith. So we've talked about Columbus. We've talked about John Smith. I want you to really look through those comprehension checks and go over those answers again. And check to make sure, because I know there was one other comprehension check that we didn't get to, I don't think. So work on that one so that you can get those answers in there so that when we have our practice quizzes, because remember, the first quizzes and tests will be practice quizzes and tests for you all. So practice studying those comprehension checks, those bold print words, the important names to remember, important places, important words, all of those things in your chapter. Study over those to help you prepare for those practice quizzes and tests. We'll have practice quizzes and tests for several weeks, and then we will have the real quizzes and tests, and the real grades will go in. So you want to really be practicing so that when we take the real quizzes and tests, you're ready for those. All right, you guys did awesome. We will see you on Monday to find out more things about our amazing American history. Have a great afternoon.